Yeah. Uh-huh. 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 Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. 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 Uh-huh.
Good evening. Welcome to Sunday morning Transplant Coffee Talk. I am your host, Steve Belcher. Yes, Sunday morning Transplant Coffee Talk, and it's Monday evening. For a lot of people who don't know, we used to do a show, Sunday morning Transplant Coffee Talk, which was broadcast every Sunday morning from 11 to 12, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it started getting a little bit too much with all the shows we started to do. So we pretty much stopped it. But thank you for a rendition of Sunday morning Transplant Coffee Talk. Again, I am your host, Steve Belcher. I'm broadcasting live from the Urban Health Outreach Media Studio in Washington, D.C., where it's 68 degrees and cloudy. It's been raining all day. So again, thank you for joining us and taking the time out of what you're doing to tune into this show tonight. This is going to be an awesome show. Let me tell you, if you ever was skeptical about shared pair donation program, this is a story that may change your mind, especially if you're waiting for a kidney transplant. And we know that you may be trying every which way to find a donor. And some people may be skeptical about the shared pair program because they feel like that person is not giving me the kidney. So they may, that person that they have, even though they don't match them, someone else may get the kidney and their chance may not come right away. And that story actually happened where the person who was supposed to donate to the other person backed out. All right, we had Valerie Cartwright who had a situation just like that. So there's two sides to the coin, okay? Two sides, this is life. And unfortunately, Valerie participated in that program and it didn't go the way she thought because the person who was going to donate backed out. So we have to tell the good as well as the bad of this disease, as ugly as it is. So this evening we have Jason Nunez and Scott Mullen, who fortunately and successfully this worked for their situation. Through the grace of God, this worked, and this is a success story. So I'm about to bring these two gentlemen on, and I want to give them the VIP guest intro because they definitely deserve this. Here we go. Hey, Jason Nunez and Scott Mullen, how you doing?
Good. Good to see you again, Steve.
Great. Before I start this interview, let me do something right quick. I'd like to thank our sponsor for tonight's show, Sunday Morning Transplant Coffee Talk, Kibo Biotech, the makers of Renadil. This is a probiotic, prebiotic a dietary supplement that helps maintain kidney function. Now, let me just tell you this. This product, Renadil, it hasn't been evaluated by the FDA. All right, so it's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. However, with that being said, this supplement, if you suffer from low kidney function or kidney problems, this supplement does something called intestinal dialysis. And you say, what is intestinal dialysis? Well, intestinal dialysis uses probiotic and prebiotic in the gastrointestinal, which is the gut system, to support healthy kidney function. And basically, this prebiotic and probiotic, what it does, it eats or digests the waste, the nitrogenous waste that's in your gut, and it eliminates it through your stools, thus giving your kidneys, or actually just alleviating some of the work that your kidneys have to do by eliminating that waste. So again, Renadil, you can do your research at www.renadil.com. And if you decide you want to try this supplement, if you suffer from low kidney function, I have across the banner a code you can use, UKA20. You can get a bottle of Fortis, which is a fiber supplement, and 3 bottles of Renadil for $162. So with that being said, let me bring on our special guest. Again, we have Scott Mullen, who is the donor, and Jason Nunez from Jason's Kidney Journey, who is the recipient. What's going on, guys? Good evening.
Good evening, Steve.
So,
good evening.
Hey, so we're broadcasting live from pretty much San Antonio, Texas, where you guys kind of live in the same vicinity. So, Jason, since you're the recipient, let's start with you. How does your story start with kidney disease? What brought you, how did your story bring you here to this broadcast tonight?
Great question, Steve. My story actually does not even begin with my kidney. My story began with my right foot. So I was diagnosed type 2 diabetic in my early 20s. Wasn't until about 4 years ago, my right foot began to give me some problems. Ended up developing a dangerous infection, a dangerous condition in my foot called Charcot foot. It's a complication of diabetes where the bones collapse. I was in the hospital virtually for about a month and a half. Within that time, blood's drawn, all that good stuff happens. I was informed that not only the condition of my foot, but I was also informed that I had CKD, which is chronic kidney disease, and it was stage 3B. So the latter end began to see a nephrologist on a regular basis. At that point, my diet changed completely, scrutinized every nutritional value fact on every piece of grocery that was purchased between my wife and I. Actually lost about 50 pounds, cutting out carbs, cutting out potassium, trying to limit sodium, limit all the stuff I need to watch out for. Unfortunately, about a year and a half ago, my kidney function dipped into that 15% range. So my nephrologist had that conversation with me about, dialysis. My first response was like, dialysis? I'm not old. That can't happen to me yet. I'm still fairly young. I'm married. I have 2 young kids. I cannot go into a center 3-4 times a week and be tired all the time. That's not me. I'm not about to die. That was my mental picture of what dialysis meant. Something for people old in age. I had a conversation with a good family friend that changed my mind. And her herself, Olga Chavira, I've known her all my life. She received a kidney transplant 10 years ago. She was on peritoneal dialysis for 5 years. She really swayed our decision into, you know what, dialysis is not the end of the world. Use it as a bridge to where you are now to transplant. So that shifted my paradigm. And from then going forward, the goal was always transplant, finding that living donor. Thanks be to God, 1 year ago, last month in August, Scott, entered it into the picture. And here we are now. I'm about 8 months post-transplant. My transplant was January 16th of this year, really right before all the COVID stuff happened within the States. And I'm fully alive. I'm very blessed to say that.
So let me ask you this. Did you start dialysis?
I did. I was on peritoneal dialysis for about a year and a half. I was on dialysis. Then October 2018, I had a right foot amputation because of that condition in my foot. So there was challenges. I was already listed on the UNOS transplant list with University Transplant Center here in San Antonio, Texas. I was put on pause so I could recover from that amputation. After I literally got back on my feet, pun intended, I went back in, had the blood drawn, a stress test, CT scan, all the battery of tests. I was put back on the list as well. So
now let me ask you, Jason. I'm
Yep.
sorry to interrupt. When you were in the hospital and when you got diagnosed, were any efforts made by your nephrologist at the time of diagnosis of kidney disease stage 3B, of education, transplant, anything to help you try to halt the progression from furthering down to end stage?
As far as to halt the progression, it was more of changing my lifestyle, changing my diet. So that's exactly what my wife and I did.
Right. Did you get that information from the nephrologist?
Yes, I did. Nothing in regards to transplant specifically. That really didn't come in the picture until later on, roughly around the time dialysis also entered the picture as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, Scott, how do you fit into the picture?
Well, pretty interesting. I was thinking about this before we got on the air. I think I've known Jason 4 or 5 years, maybe. And we met each other through church. We go to the same church together, just down the street from where Jason lives. And I was fairly active in these retreat communities they call the Acts community. And I think I met Jason through that. And then we have this men's faith group that meets like once a month. So somewhere in there, we became friends. Turns out we both live here in San Antonio now, but he grew up in El Paso, and I did a lot of growing up in El Paso. And so we kind of became friends and we clicked. And so I just knew him as a friend for several years, and mainly through the church environment. And, we're different ages, so we didn't really hang out all that much outside of church. And we've been doing a lot more of that lately. But that's where I first met him, and that's when I first got to know him. He's a really good guy. And then you start to see the journey he's going through that he just described, where he's having a lot of trouble with his kidney. He needs to go on dialysis. He had the really bad infection in his foot. Looked like maybe he would get over that. That kind of went up and down like a sine wave, It looked better for a while, and then it would get worse, and then it would get better and get worse. And eventually, unfortunately, it got to the point where the only option for him was to have surgery and have his right foot removed from below the knee, excuse me. So I just known Jason that way, socially and through church, for probably about 4 years. And that's the story of our beginnings.
Mm-hmm. Now, at what point, Scott, did you say, man, let me try to help this guy out? I mean, what did you have a epiphany? I mean, did you just wake up one morning and said, let me donate my kidney to Jason? Or was it a particular moment you saw him doing his suffering that you said, let me try and go see if I can help this gentleman out? What brought you to that point of even formulating the thought of donating your organ to this gentleman, because we know there's risk to everything.
You know, that's true. For me, and maybe for a lot of people who've been in my position, it kind of started off slowly and built up. And then I kind of did hit a real epiphany moment, but it was a kind of the epiphany at the end. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But for me, there was one of the times that Jason and I were together at a meeting. At the end of the meeting, he got up and he handed out some information. This was related again to one of our church groups about donation, because he was starting into dialysis. He knew that his kidney function was really low. He knew that it didn't look good for him, and the best for him in the future, you know, he's got his young boys. He wants to be around to see them, and he just wants to live a full life, was to get a transplant. So he handed out some paperwork, and that kind of started it. And that's the whole thing about kidney donation. And I think a lot of times people just need to get educated. And for me, I just need to get educated. I saw the paperwork that he handed out. I read it, and for some reason, it just kind of stuck with me. And I don't know exactly why, but it just kind of stuck with me. And I thought, you know, this is something I might do. And actually, I probably, like most people in this country before that, like we were joking before we got on air, the closest I come to, you know, considering donation and stuff is when you get your driver's license, and, you know, on the back of it, you can put the little X if you're willing to donate your organs, if you know you're in a bad accident and you're not going to make it through. And I said, sure, what the heck? You know, I might as well give them to somebody else. So that's kind of as close as I got. But after I saw that document, it started the slow burning ember, like I talk about, with me. And then I was thinking, I might be able to do this. I might be able to do this. And when I would see Jason after that, he'd be asking, how's he doing and what's going on and how does it work? And, you know, what if we're not the same blood type? Or, you know, I started probing him a little bit. We kid about it now because I was thinking in the back of my mind that I might be able to do this. And supposedly, I figured he must recognize what's going on in me, but he claims he didn't know. But anyway, it sort of built up over time. And Jason and I got to be closer friends. And it was pushed along, I'm sure, by the suffering I saw. You know, we would go on these weekend retreats with the church together, and he's hauling his dialysis equipment along, and he's got to, you know, do all the fluids and all that work. Or he's at the back of the meeting hall with us, and he's attached to this machine, and it's just, you know, your heart just goes out to him, because Jason is just the greatest guy. You know, he's never complains, never fusses. You know, he's suffering a lot, but his spirit, his attitude is just so positive. He's just, you just want to be around him. He's a guy you just fall in love with super easy. And so we, you know, I see him suffering like that, and it built that fire up more in me. And then he went through the foot issues and troubles and had to go to the amputation. And, you know, and that, you know, you just think this poor man has been really kicked. But for me, so I'm an engineer, so I like to look at things and figure stuff out. So in the background, I'm thinking and talking to him about it. I started looking online, and those papers he gave me to have stuff. You look online, and there's a bunch of information out there, right, about risks for people and what you go through and what's it like on your body to have the surgery and all that kind of stuff. So I checked into that, and it all looks pretty good. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time now. The doctors know what's going on. They give you a whole barrage of tests and everything to check you out. But if they give you the thumbs up and you're healthy enough to do it, to donate a kidney, then you're fine. It's not going to affect you negatively for the rest of your life. You're just going to live like you never had one, you know, like you never lost one. Right. Pretty much. I mean, the statistics are really strongly in favor of that. So I put that to rest. And then I talked to my wife, Michelle, about it. And she's been along for a while. And she's a very special person. And I said, you know, I think I might be able to do this, you know, and I wasn't sure really what her reaction would be. Like, whoa, hold on now, you know, that's too much risk. But she was very supportive right from the word go. I didn't have to convince her at all. I mean, it was just like, okay, if you feel strongly about this, you know, I'll support you. So things just spilled up, and I was super impressed with that and a little surprised. And then last August, I think Jason mentioned, we went on a Acts retreat together. So that's a retreat from our church puts on it's kind of a weekend, sort of a Thursday through Sunday retreat where it's just focused, just guys. It's a real spiritual time where you get close to God. There's a team of like 40 guys from the church that work together, and we meet for like 12, 14 weeks before that to plan all the events. Then there's a bunch of people who come to the retreat from all different walks of life. You know, some of them just want to get closer to God. Some of them are in a real bad place. and you have a really tight, very close, very spiritual weekend. They're fantastic. And we were together on one in August, the Acts team in August. And it was then that the whole story is a long story, Steve. So I don't want to tell you the whole story, but I'll tell you the short part of the story. And there's the podcast that Jason has that tells you the whole story, advertised for Jason. But what I needed was a kick in the butt to get across the line. And that it happened at that retreat. And basically what happened was a miracle. I had been praying about it. One of the events of the retreat is a quiet evening in the church. We have an event with the guys there, and the team is there. Part of the team is there, and I was one part of the team that was there. And it was a quiet evening in a beautiful church in August of last year. And, I've been praying a lot about it. I just need some discernment about it. Like, I think I want to do it. All the signs are positive. Everything's ready to go. Do it. When I say do it, I mean announce to him and start the process. And so I really prayed strongly about it, but I prayed a lot about it. And then I moved back a couple of rows behind me. I sat next to another guy on the team who I've never talked to about this at all. Just one of the other older gentlemen. And he started out of the blue, just trying to tell me stories. He goes, I got a couple of stories I need to tell you. And I go, okay, sure. So he tells me one that has to do with my kids. I have some kids that are a bit of a challenge and some mental illness in the family. And he started talking about that, and he didn't know anything about it. And I was like, wow, where'd that come from? It was like what I needed to hear, like answering my prayers. And I was really completely blown away. It was like God was speaking through this man, Tony, to me. And I was just completely blown away. And so we're sitting there a couple minutes later. It's a good quiet time. And Tony looks at me and goes, hey, I got something else to talk to you about. I'm like, okay, what now, Tony? And he goes, I've been thinking I really want to help somebody out. I've been thinking, I want to give Jason my kidney. And I just almost fell out of my seat. It's like I had asked God about these two specific things 30 minutes earlier, 2 pews up in the church. And I had never said anything like this at all to this man, Tony, that I was thinking about it, that I was right on the cusp of this. And right out of his mouth came the words that I needed to hear. And I'm convinced to this moment that was God's action right there. And I was like, wow, are you kidding me? Now, Tony's a great guy, but he's in his 70s. Medically, he's not capable of donating a kidney. But what he was really doing was giving me the words like, quit messing around, go, that guy needs your help. So immediately thereafter, we walked up and we met him outside our retreat house. And I said, I'm ready to do this. And we had a big group hug, and that started the whole process. And it's just been rolling since then.
Now, Scott, let me ask you, and then I'm going to ask you something, Jason. Before any of this, Jason, have you heard about kidney disease? Did you have much information or knew the severity of this disease, the devastation and the lives that it wreaks havoc in?
I would say I knew about it, but not very much, honestly. And now that I'm on this side, going through the donation program, I think that's something that really needs to be addressed. And I'm glad you're doing things like this show that you're putting on right now, Steve. Very glad.
Oh, thank you. We just need more people to watch.
No, right. And the word just needs to get out. I probably, like most people, I'd heard of it. I knew there was transplants, but not much. I mean, if you don't know somebody who really needs it like Jason, you probably don't think about it that much. And I didn't think about it that much until I met him and until he brought it to my attention. Right.
We need to find more engineers. So they get, sure. I mean, at least you thought because you analytically, I'm sure you analytically went through this information. You scrutinized it every which way you can, from that critical thinking of being an engineer to see if this was the right formula for you. So, right. I mean, if more people took the time to do the same thing you did about organ donation, and kind of like dispel the myths that goes around it, maybe we may have more organ donors like yourself.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Jason. Wow. I mean, you took your machine and your supplies to church, the retreat, wherever you went. You carried your machine with you. Now, look, a lot of people who's doing this at home wouldn't even probably go to service or even think about taking their machine to church service. I don't know. I mean, this is a big world, but this is the first I heard through Scott. Now, with that being said, how much is your faith important to you? Because it must be pretty important for you to take your supplies and take it to another building where other people are at and put yourself at risk. Because we know when you do peritoneal, they want you to be in a room, have this, that. But tell us, how important is your faith for you to do something like that?
Well, Steve.
Well, I'm sorry.
Hide and seek.
There you go.
All right. Well, Steve, in short, to answer your question is, I want to know God, I want to serve God, and I want to love God. And I want to help others come to that same realization. If I'm on one foot and down to 15% of working kidney function, that's not going to stop me. Simple. But, you know, I took all the precautions. I spoke to my dialysis nurse. So the way it laid out is I went through 2 separate retreats. These happen annually. So even though I was on dialysis for a year and a half, the way it laid out when I started and when my transplant happened, thanks be to God, I had 2 retreats to where while I was on dialysis, I attended these retreats and helped with them as well. So I spoke to my dialysis nurse and explained to her the situation. Say, hey, my treatment is 9.5 hours long. I'm not going to be asleep for 9.5 hours or in my bed for 9.5 hours any one of these nights. So how can I make this happen? So, we got pretty creative, but, we found ways to, get this done. 1 year I did manual exchanges. The following year I did take my cycler with me, my machine. And when I took my machine, I simply, plugged in my room, door closed. I was the only one in there, clean environment. Once it got to a certain point in that process, I was able to turn off the machine, unplug it, and roll it into the room I'd be in, plug it in, turn it back on, and resume the treatment. So, about 95%,
awesome.
95% of the population who are not aware of what's happening or why there's a machine next to me, they're giving me some looks. And what is that? I was like, this is my machine for dialysis. They look at me and say, "You're on dialysis right now?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah." Like, look, it's there's the bag of solution. There's what's draining out. There's what's coming in. It's all right. I'm here. I'm good.
Wow.
Okay. So I was blessed to give a testimony. So I actually wheeled my machine in the front next to the podium and delivered my testimony while I was doing the treatment.
Man, that's awesome. Wow.
I'll tell you, I do not remember that time. I can only say that it was the Holy Spirit that gave me the power and the will to deliver that testimony. Thanks be to God.
Right. Now, Jason, how did you come to the decision to do peritoneal over in-center hemo or home hemo? What was that driving factor that had you make that decision to select peritoneal?
Yes. So I had a conversation with a very good close friend of our family who had been on peritoneal dialysis for 5 years. And with me being a father of 2 boys, they're now teenagers. So I wanted to keep some semblance of a normal life. If the opportunity to travel came up, I still wanted to do that. You know, if the opportunity came up to do something any given day of the week, I wanted to do that. So after looking into, you know, hemodialysis and talking to my friend Olga regarding peritoneal dialysis, she had gone through it. What worked for me was peritoneal dialysis. I'm just happy that I was approved. It's not necessarily offered to every patient who's going through kidney disease. You have to be compliant. Those that are watching, if you have appointments with a nephrologist, go to your appointments. Do not miss your appointments. Showing that you are a compliant patient, if you get to the point where you need dialysis, peritoneal could be an option for you. So be as compliant with your doctor as you can. I cannot stress that enough. You know, me being compliant, me showing that I had a support system. My wife Jeannie is amazing. She is a tremendous blessing in my life. My two boys are tremendous blessings in my life. We went through this as a family. I didn't go through this. The four of us went through this inside my home. My wife helped me. My boys helped me every night when I went, when it was time to begin, you know, the treatment. Both of my boys had steps in this. One of them would open the boxes and they would bring the solutions and put them on my bed. You know, one would get the tubing and leave it on there, you know, make sure everything was, you know, the way it's supposed to be. Once it was time for dad to, you know, plug into the machine, they knew it was time for them to step out of the room. It was just me and my wife, do the standard steps, turn off the fan, make sure we had a mask on, wash our hands really, really well before we started the process. So, you know, I was able to travel to Las Vegas, to New York, back home. So all while on dialysis, rolling that big cycling machine through an airport, you know, especially JFK, that was definitely an interesting experience. Having that big cycler go through the X-ray machine at TSA, getting to see all the inside pieces of it was kind of fascinating. But
Wow.
it's a machine and I need it, so it's not going to stop me from living, Steve.
Now I hear you, and hopefully for people watching, as a result of COVID-19, this should be a wake up call and
Is it stuck, Jason?
That's kind of what it looks like, Steve. I'm not sure if you can hear us, but I think your slide's kind of stuck there. That's what it appears like.
Should we just carry on?
Yeah, we should just carry on here until Steve comes back on. Since we have a moment, I just want to give a shout out not only to Kidney Solutions, if we're still live, give a shout out to Kidney Solutions, Kent Bressler, Amanda De Leon has helped in the past. You all were a big help to me. I thank you very much. Also to University Transplant Center, Dr. Gregory Abrahamian performed my transplant, and I know they work so well with you as well, Scott.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. University was a great place. Dr. Lisa Thomas was my doctor. She's sharp.
Yes.
But the whole operation there is first class. Yeah. Very first class.
Indeed. We, both of us had a great experience.
Okay, guys, sorry about that. I'm having some internet connection issues, but as I said, on September 7th, I'm going to have a separate FiOS Ethernet line, and I'm not going to have this problem anymore.
All right, good for you.
Yeah, so what I was saying, I don't know if you heard me, Scott. I was asking, how did that conversation look like with Jason when you originally told him you were going to donate your kidney? Tell us, how did that go? Was it an emotional, well, not a confrontation, but was it an emotional experience telling him that?
Oh, yeah. That was a real special time. I'm going to always remember that. Coming out of the church, as I described earlier, with, having heard God speak to me. I was on this big emotional high, and just felt really charged and energized. And Tony and I, the fellow who talked to me earlier in the church, walked up the pathway, and we just happened to see Jason outside the retreat center, sort of kind of there with one of the other fellows, but it was a quiet time, not around all the different guys. So it was a nice setting. And I just walked up to him and I just told him, listen, buddy, I'm going to donate my kidney to you, and it's going to work. I don't remember the exact words I said to him, and maybe he does, because it's kind of like, and he was talking about giving his retreat message, his talk. It just like the words just kind of flowed out of me. And it was a very emotional time, lots of hugging. Jason and I are both criers. A lot of tears at that time.
Sure.
And that's just the beginning. And not to sound cocky, but I had a lot of confidence it was going to work out. I just felt like it was right for all the right reasons, and I hadn't been checked out, so maybe they would kick me out of the program and it wouldn't work for him. But of course, it didn't turn out that way. It turned out just exactly like it was meant to be, and everything worked fantastic. But that was a real special moment. I will say this, though, for Jason, is that I'm not the first person who said he or she wants to donate a kidney to Jason. In fact, there's been quite a few. And, it's a selective process. So over the time period where Jason's been needing and seeking, a donor, he's had other people that are like me tell him, and for one reason or, that they want to. And for one reason or not, most all of them related to, health issues and things, they just couldn't donate to him for whatever reason. So when I told him, to me, it was like, here it goes, man, let's go. And I could tell that behind his eyes, Jason was thinking like, man, I really want this to work, but I've heard it before where it just didn't work. So he's a cool customer. You might be able to tell by looking at him here. He was super appreciative. And there was a lot of love flowing there. But at the same time, he held a little bit in reserve, because it was like, I don't want to build myself up too big and then this not work and have it crash down. Of course, it all has worked out. It's worked out fantastic. But that was a great moment. That's a moment I'll never forget.
Sure. Now, great. That's awesome. Now, before I talk about the shared ped program, Jason, what were you doing the moment that Scott told you? Can you share like how you felt and what were you doing at that moment?
Yeah, so I was outside of the main building where we are, for that retreat. I was speaking to another member of the team regarding who knows anymore. But yeah, I just remember seeing Scott and Tony, come up to me, and they might have been running. My memory's a little fuzzy right now, but I remember Scott coming up to me, putting his hand on my shoulder and telling me that he wanted to give me his kidney, and that there was definitely a special moment amongst the three of us. And Scott was very confident from the beginning. I'll give him that. He told me something to the effect of, "Don't worry, it's all going to work out." I was very excited. I'd be lying if I sang that I wasn't. But I try not to show my emotion prematurely, if that makes sense. As Scott's right, I have had other folks kind of come up to me and express to me the same intentions. So we've all seen those videos of people, getting a card that says I'm your donor, or those inspirational videos. It was the same kind of feeling, but not like that. He just came up to me and looked me in the eye and told me man to man what his intentions were. And I gave him the website. I thought to myself, man, this guy sounds very confident. I really hope this is the one. Thanks be to God, he was. And it's been a tremendous blessing. I do remember seeing his throughout that weekend. And I remember seeing her and giving her a big hug and just saying, Scott told me, thank you. And just giving her this huge bear hug, So that's another little memory that's kind of jumping into my brain right now.
Yeah, very cool.
Right. Now, we have to tell the audience that in order for you to participate in the shared ped program, Scott had to give his kidney to someone else. So basically, How did you feel, both of y'all feel, when you heard that news? When Scott, when your organ wasn't going directly to Jason, did you like, wait a minute, what's going on here? How did you feel at that moment? Did they explain everything to you? Were you dejected? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I knew about it. University Hospital here in San Antonio is a really good hospital. They give you a lot of information, and they go over everything once, twice, or three times. And so you had to sign up whether if I can get my kidneys straight to him, cool. If not, no, I don't want to do it. Or I'm willing to get into the paired donation program, and they explained it pretty well. And I was like, sure. I mean, my whole goal here was to help Jason. However that works out was my goal. And so I wasn't against it at all. And so we go through all the tests and all that. And it turns out that I could actually, which I thought was another part of the miracle, donate my kidney to him. But I'm 20 years older than him. And the doctors, in their wisdom, put the pieces together and go, there's another kidney out there that's better for Jason, and my kidney is better for somebody else. And they asked us again, would we be willing to do that? And I was like, sure. I mean, my goal is to help Jason. And the other thing that's really cool about this paired program, which doubles the blessings, what we always say, and it's really true. I mean, and the blessings just come from left field and right field when you say yes to this. So big yes to the donation. But besides Jason being taken care of, and his surgery was in January of this year, and he's doing fantastic, and somebody else's kidney is in Jason running down the road, and he's doing great, my kidney helped somebody else. So besides the fact that mission accomplished, Jason is doing well, my kidney is helping somebody else who I don't know yet because of the HIPAA rules, and they haven't paired us up yet.
Absolutely.
But hopefully my recipient is doing as well as Jason is too. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. I'm just sitting here going, I mean, you can't beat that. I mean, you see Jason right there. His life has changed completely. And I can hope and pray that my kidney is doing something like that for somebody else. How can you not want to be part of something like that? That's fantastic.
Now, Scott, for someone who may be watching this show right now that is healthy and may be on the fence about deciding whether to donate or not, what has the hospital promised you in light if you were to come down with kidney disease later on in your life, or something, God forbid, to happen to your one kidney that's left? What have you been promised?
Well, I would be right at the top of the list, kind of like me and Jason. When we went together, he gets kicked to the top of the list and he gets his kidney. So the same thing would happen to me, because I'm a kidney donor. So if something went wrong with the one kidney that I have, which is extremely unlikely, but if something like that would happen, they would kick me right to the top of the list for, I guess, a transplant for myself, something like that. That's one of those boxes I checked. You take a look at it like, oh, what might not go well here? And that was one of them, and they take good care of you. And that, I'm in the hospitals. They're checking me, and they got me on a schedule to check things, and they're always there for me to reach out with any little issue or whatever. So I feel real confident that it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. I really do. And again, I'm trying to be cocky about this or not, but
no, it's your faith.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Sabrina, thanks for tuning in. Now, Jason, when you heard that you weren't going to get Scott's kidney, did you have any doubt or any, were you deflated, or, did any negative feelings go through you about how long this is going to take? Is this going to happen tomorrow? Did any doubt go through your mind? That's the word I wanted to use.
Gotcha. Well, not necessarily doubt in regards to me receiving a transplant overall. Not receiving Scott's kidney, sure, there's some feelings there about, man, it would be awesome. Scott's an amazing guy. Michelle, his wife Michelle, is blessed to have him in her life, and it would be awesome. Like, we would literally be not only are we brothers in Christ, but we'd be literal kidney brothers, right? Yeah, we would
Yeah.
definitely be linked forever. In a way, we are still linked forever.
We
It's just
are.
that the blessing is that not only are we linked to ourselves, but we're linked to other folks forever, which hopefully one day we'll get to meet. The coordination of the transplant overall, from what we were privy to, right? There's bits and pieces fed to us at different times. And, truth be told, Scott and I would kind of talk in the background and say, hey, this is what they're telling me. This is what they're telling me. And we try to like kind of connect the dots. Well, if they're telling me this, then they told you that. Then that means that, C is going to happen. So, I'm sure there's other folks that kind of do the same thing, but it was definitely coordinated very, very well. So it wasn't a matter of, hey, Scott's kidney is going somewhere else. We'll get back to you. It was very tightly coordinated
Right.
to where I knew that, mine was coming very, very quickly. So.
And how soon after Scott donated his kidney, how soon did you receive yours?
I actually received mine first. So my kidney transplant was
Really?
January 16th. Mm-hmm. Yes. Scott's transplant was initially scheduled in February. Due to COVID-19 and, some other kind of circumstances there, it was pushed back. So Scott's transplant happened in June. But I did receive mine first. So that's.
I mean, that is kind of unusual. Well, I don't know if it's unusual or not, but I say that because let me just say this, and I know you would have done this, Scott. But what if you got the transplant, Jason, and if Scott backed out? What would happen then? Because Scott wouldn't be obligated to move forward. So, I mean, what would happen? I mean, they couldn't take the kidney back out of you. I mean, I'm just saying because situations like that can or could happen.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of funny.
So
Scott, I've asked Scott about this before. So, we're talking one time and I was like, so Scott, did you have to sign a form promising you wouldn't like disappear to like Italy or something, since my transplant's done and it looks like I'm kind of on the right track, So, it's a question that I just had to ask because I was curious,
Yeah, that would have been crazy if somebody would have, I mean, it would have been a bad thing to do, but that would have been crazy if someone actually done that. I mean, you pretty much got a free transplant if that happened. I mean, but that wouldn't be a good thing to do. I mean, because then you're putting somebody else's life at risk. Right. So, man, thank you for following through, Scott. Absolutely. Now, Scott, for people who's watching, again, that's straddling the fence of donation, what do you want them to know about paired donation and what you learned throughout this whole process?
I would say that the paired donation program is wonderful. Even if you can't donate directly to the person that you'd like to, you can bring that kind of joy and happiness to somebody else's life, and the person you want to have taken care of gets taken care of too. So it opens up the possibilities. It's a great program. Like I said, for me, it's been like being able to help two people, which is double the blessing. And the pairing works out. I think the hospitals do it so they get what might be the optimized or the ideal pairing. So Jason probably got the best kidney for him, better even than mine, and the same thing I assume with me and the person that it's going to. So I don't know exact statistics, but it probably even makes the donation and the recipient work out better on both sides too. It's a great program. And the other thing that's good about it is it just opens the possibilities to help a lot of people. And even if I can't donate straight to you, Jason, I can still achieve helping you get a kidney and help somebody else. I mean, I can't say anything bad about it at all. It's a great program. I wish I knew more about it. And, we're helping behind the scenes with several ways here to try to educate people and bring the word out to more people who were like me 4 or 5 years ago, really didn't know that much about it. It hasn't been that hard for me, to be completely honest with you. And the blessings have been fantastic. We're big proponents of the whole kidney donation program and the pairing system. It's just worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
Really well.
Now, Scott, tell us about the process, the screening process. Were there any obstacles, any challenges going through this process? Some people report that the psychiatric or the mental evaluation process is a tough process to go through. How was your experience through this screening process?
It was a good experience overall. There's a fair amount of screening, but it's good because the hospitals really want to make sure that if they decide you're healthy enough to donate a kidney, that you're not going to have any problem going forward. So they give you a real thorough screening. So there's like 1, 2, 3 rounds of medical testing, blood draws and urine draws and those kinds of things. And then, like you mentioned too, and you pass the first one, then you go into the second one kind of thing. They also did an MRI and they gave me a C scan. They really check you close. For me, that just meant I just had to put the time into it, going to the hospital, those kind of things. So it does take a little bit of time, but not a whole lot of time. Mm-hmm. And then there's social workers and doctors that advise you, and other people associated with the program. There's a nutritionist and things. They all talk to you about it to make sure you understand, you got to be a good eater on the other side. Don't do silly things because you got one kidney, so you don't want to overstress it. And it's not like I do anything really weird. I just normal, decent, good eating and living, and you're fine. And they give you a mental evaluation. I don't remember that being tough. I mean, they just kind of ask you questions and stuff. I think what they're really looking for there too is that once you donate a kidney, you're gonna be out of work for a couple of weeks and stuff. Do you have a support system that can help you do that? Do you have a job? Maybe if you have to get back on the job right away, and physically, I'm 10 weeks into it now, and I'm pretty much almost 100% physically, but I do a desk job. If I had a physical job, I'd have to ramp up into it. So they check that kind of stuff. And I think hopefully a lot of employers and stuff will work with somebody who donates a kidney. So they ask you a bunch of questions. They check all those boxes, but it wasn't a bad process.
Sure.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad at all, really.
Great. That's awesome. Now, Jason, tell us the day you got the call, or did you know when you was going to get the kidney, or was it a surprise, like a thief in the night?
Well, it was certainly a surprise. I wasn't anticipating to receive the call actually when I did. I always had faith I would, right? But so I was actually sitting in the parking lot of my son's school waiting for him to come out. He was staying after school for some sort of a school activity. So I was just sitting there in the parking lot facing, the exit of the school. My phone rings, it's university. And I answer the phone and it's my coordinator, Jennifer Arce. So she gives me the information, and she's giving me dates and mentioning transplants and all this stuff. And I hung up with her, and it took me about a good 30 seconds for me to realize I'm getting a transplant. I was so hyper focused on details, dates, times, all that stuff to make sure I didn't miss any details, that I really wasn't processing the message she was trying to give me. And about 30 seconds later, I realized, oh my God, I'm getting a transplant. I need to get home so that way I can, let my wife know this is something that you deliver in person. This kind of news, you don't send a text or call them. You got to be there. The special moments that I had about that is, so my transplant occurred on January 16th. That's not the original date it was scheduled for. It was scheduled for December 18th. December 18th has been a day for my family that's been very difficult. I lost my oldest brother unexpectedly that day back in 2015. And so that was the day that my transplant was originally scheduled for. So when I made that realization, I had to like look up and say, "Well played, God. That's good. You're just showing off now, man, because this has been a tough
Mm,
day for my family, and now this day
mm,
is being circled, and it's going to bring our family a lot of joy." My transplant was rescheduled to January 16th, so I was kind of trying to understand, God's plan. Me being human, thinking I can understand God's plan. How laughable is that, right? So I still, the dots in my brain don't connect until I can understand. So I have this app on my phone that shows me pictures I take 1 year ago today, 2 years ago today, and so on. So the week of my transplant, I took a picture of our church bulletin, and on January 16th, a couple years ago, I took that picture because on January 16th, there were two masses said that day. The first mass was for the intention of healing, kidney transplant healing, right? Get that connection?
Mhm.
The
mm,
second mass offered that day was for my brother's intention. So I was like, God, you keep showing off. You're
mm.
in the zone, man. You're just, you know, you keep winking at me and I keep missing it. So thank you, God. So yeah, so those are the moments for me, when I think of my transplant that just kind of come from my heart there.
Wow. Now, Jason, one thing I want to ask you about. You mentioned you talked about diabetes.
Yep.
Um, Now, can you just share with us, by you being a young man and having to get the amputation, where a lot of people may look at it like older people get amputations, but did you ever get discouraged when you had to get your leg amputated, being as young as you were at the time of amputation?
Discouraged in the sense of getting to transplant or just amputation period?
Just amputation, period.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, sure. For the past, gosh, up until my transplant, the past 3 years before that, amputation had been hanging over my head. Every time I visited a doctor, I had to go back in the hospital, something to that effect. Every time I visited my podiatrist, that kept hanging over me. My wife and I tried, all we could to save my foot, and eventually, sought out the assistance of the best foot orthopedic surgeon in San Antonio, and he tried to fuse my foot. Unfortunately, my bones had eroded, so there was nothing left to fuse. So there
Mm-hmm.
was no other choice at that point but to amputate. I'll be honest with you, there is some discouragement, and it's more, it's the human side of us. What are people going to think of me? What are my kids going to think of me? How am I going to be able to be a father and a husband? But having an amputation, it doesn't it doesn't limit you. It actually amplifies you, because if you can rise above, you realize, I got this. I can do this. I can still drive. I can go up and down stairs. I can help carry down the groceries. There's everyday things that people do without even thinking about it. The only difference is that I have to be more intentional about those everyday things and make sure I don't misstep somewhere and slip or fall or do anything that's going to cause me an additional injury or further complications. But I have a great team as far as my amputation goes, as far as my transplant goes. I've been tremendously blessed in the city of San Antonio, the city that I call my home now. El Paso has my heart and my family is there, and I love my family and I love El Paso. But San Antonio is my home, and um, all of the medical staff here have just been amazing with everything that's come my way.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you, Jason. With the amputation, did it you ever come to a point that God had a purpose for that?
I like to say yes, especially now with different people that I meet. I'm actually a certified peer visitor for the Amputee Coalition. Anyone watching,
Awesome.
yes, anyone watching, if you are an amputee and you have not visited the Amputee Coalition, please do so. If you feel like you need support, I am a trained certified peer visitor. I've actually done visitations through Zoom to lend support and encouragement to those that have
Awesome.
amputations. just to answer questions. There's a lot of questions involved, but
Mhm.
you know what? I thank God every day for many things. This right here being one of them, because it's a tremendous blessing in my
Here it
life.
comes.
What's that?
This is
Oh,
my
okay. Wow.
leg. This is my prosthetic foot right here. So, I thank God for this every day because it gets me places. Up until the time of COVID, it was a pretty big conversation starter with perfect strangers. But everyone wearing a mask, everyone's kind of focused on who's wearing a mask, who's not. So I'm pretty certain that no one is looking at my prosthetic leg anymore. They're making sure
Right.
that I'm wearing a mask.
Now, Jason, you have, now I may be wrong, but you have a production company where you produce podcast shows. And in fact, you produce Kidney Solutions, but kidney, I can't, I know Kent, but I can't think of his. You tell us
Alrighty.
what you do, because I was on Kent's show last week, and that's when I first met you, and you produced that podcast show, and I want to thank you for that. But tell us about that, and you want to actually play a clip from the show?
Well, what I want to do is actually plug it, just kind of promote it if I can.
Oh,
Uh,
sure, absolutely. Tell us about it.
yeah, definitely. So, I'm not an audio engineer. I'm not anyone with a degree in audio engineering, right? So 4 years ago, when all these health issues started, that's when I stopped working. My mobility was greatly impacted. Wasn't feeling very well because of my kidneys. So I am on disability still, during the transplant recovery process. But I needed something to occupy my time. While my wife was at work and my boys were at school, I was home alone. And being home alone with your thoughts is never a good thing. So for those of you that may find yourself in that situation, I strongly encourage you to find something you're interested in, and use your time to go into that interest you have. For me, it happened to be podcasts. I simply Googled, how do I create a podcast? And I figured it out. In the past 4 years, I've actually created and hosted my own podcast, which is called the John 330 podcast. I have over 100 episodes there. I have over 10,000 listens across the world. That's more of a faith-based podcast where I focus on Catholic faith life. And this has turned into a skill that I've learned, on my own, researching, trial and error, a lot of trial and error, right? But it's turned into a skill to where I can help others advocate for other causes. So Kent Bressler, who is a wonderful man as well as my mentor, he expressed interest in starting a podcast of his own to help out Kidney Solutions, which is a wonderful nonprofit organization. So both of us created Kent's Kidney Stories, which is where Kent, he talks about dialysis, talks about transplant. Kent himself received a kidney transplant from his brother Kip about 31 years ago, and he's doing amazing. He's walked easily over 100 miles in the month of August as a part of a fundraiser for AAKP. So Kent is amazing. He's unstoppable. We have over 30 episodes released, and he's getting emails from people as far as Europe that are expressing interest, that one of his episodes gave him hope, and he is now going to donate to his friend. So,
Wow.
shout out to Ben out in the UK for that. That's amazing of you.
Wow.
So Scott's actually been on Kent's podcast as well as you, Steve.
Awesome. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so there's 3 episodes that I want to plug if I can. Don't mean to confuse anyone, but I do want to plug my podcast, which is the John 330 podcast. Episode 100 in particular, I interviewed Scott the evening before my transplant. We were at his house. We had some friends over. This was before COVID. So we had friends over, and we had a nice prayer group time and fellowship. And once everyone kind of filtered out, I set up my microphones, hit record, and I talked to Scott, and he shared his story with me. So Scott kind of gave the Cliff Notes version here. If you want to hear the full story, I encourage you all to just look at the John 330 podcast. If you have iPhone, just go on your podcast app, or if you're an Android user, go to Spotify. Just simply Google the John 330 podcast. You'll find it. Episode 100. Episode
John
100.
331 podcast.
Yep, John 330 podcast. So yeah, Scott's episode number 100, and he does an amazing job kind of going through the story and just have some tissues ready. I do also want to plug Kent's podcast, which is Kent's Kidney Stories. It's also available. If you have an iPhone, just go to your podcast app. It's available on Spotify, anywhere podcasts are available. Just kind of going back here and looking at the episodes. Scott's episode is number 27. And Steve, your episode came out earlier today. So episode 32 is Steve Belcher striving to educate 3 million people about kidney disease, which is something he expresses during the episode. And
absolutely, go check that out.
Number, check that out.
Yeah, in fact, I had that link pulled up, but that's okay. But yeah. So where do you go from here, Scott? You donated your kidney. All the hoopla is over. What do you do from here? Do you go back to your life as an engineer and family man and just do the things you were doing before this happened? Go back to the involvement in the church, or have you thought about doing some advocacy for kidney donation or just organ donation? Have that bug came to you, or are you just going to go back to the life you lived before this happened?
One good thing is I am going back to the life I lived, and that means, exercising and riding bicycles and doing all the stuff I did. So it's not like I'm hampered in any way from donating kidneys. So I'm just going on in my normal life that way. But one of the thing that you mentioned there, Steve, is true, is that I've really become an advocate for kidney donation and just organ donation in general, focusing on kidney donation. Another part of the backstory from me and Jason, and it comes out in his podcast in more detail, is that we were originally kind of quiet about talking about our kidney donation or me donating to him, just because we're the kind of guys who don't want a lot of hoopla and want a lot of attention drawn to ourselves. We know it's a good thing, but we're not doing this for any kind of, fame or fortune or anything silly like that. But then we realized pretty quickly, again, with some advice from some other folks, that, we need to spread this word about what we're doing, because it's got a lot of benefit. It could benefit a lot of people in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned out to be the truth. Once we started letting everybody know, everybody meaning friends, family, neighbors. I reached out to my buddies from high school. A lot of my family's not here in this city, so that other places. This immense wave of good blessing and people going, really? You can donate your kidney? You can do that? Yeah. I mean, just my neighbors on either side of me, up and down the street now, they see me. I'm out walking the dog, and they go, how you doing? How you feeling? And they tell friends and they tell family. And it just kind of
awesome.
No, it's been fantastic. And, the other thing, too, the University Hospital here in town is starting a brand new program. And Jason and I have kind of done some consulting a little bit with them at the beginning. And we're going to sign up to be ambassadors, champion ambassadors. Man. And we'll see where that goes. But, Jason and I are both dreamers, too. So we have these grand plans about speaking donations and spreading the word to different businesses and organizations around town, and just kind of educate people more like I was when I saw Jason. There's got to be lots and lots and lots, thousands and thousands of people like me,
absolutely,
who donate, who just don't have that match lit, and it doesn't take that much to light that match. So
yeah, even overseas,
really. So we're going to do that as well as we can, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm definitely going to live. I'll be my normal self on one side, but I want to. And then there's Shanna right there. Yep, she's leading that program at University Hospital. She just chimed in on the chat. We want to help her.
Is this somebody from University Hospital?
That's her right there. Yeah.
Please, Miss Shanna. Excuse me, guys, but please, Miss Shanna, if you would like to be on the show to talk about organ donation from your hospital or the advocacy, please reach out to me, Steve Belcher, on Facebook. Would love to schedule to have you on one of our shows because we're trying to get this information out. As Jason said, we're trying to reach 3 million people because this disease is the 9th leading cause of death in the United States, and there's not enough awareness being put on the prevention side or the transplant side. I mean, it's unfortunate that there's more people on the list than there are in the donor pool. So we need to try to definitely turn those numbers around. Got to start somewhere.
Yep.
I agree.
Wow. Now, I mean, we done, man, been through an hour. We're like an hour and 12 minutes. So I want to kind of wrap it down. But Scott, can you just, before we leave, just give a brief, just a brief saying of what you want people to know about organ donation?
What I want people to know about organ donation is it's not scary. They take good care of you. You will be fine on the other side. I am fine on the other side. And they're going to keep their eyes on you and make sure everything okay. It's, if I can do it, thousands and millions of people in this country can do it. And I will tell you one thing. It's a little bit of work, you know, going through the process to get checked and all. And surgery, it's a major surgery, so I'm not trying to downplay it. There's some work involved, and there's a little bit of risk involved. Not a whole lot, but there's a little bit of risk involved. But Jason and I will tell you, and we could tell you story after story after story, the blessings that you receive from being a kidney donor like myself and from him being a recipient are 1,000 times more than any hassle that you have to go through to get it. You just have to trust me. I mean, our lives have been blessed. Just the love that we have received, the outpouring of affection, just the happenstance things in our world, running across people and talking about it. Like Jason mentioned, a guy in England saw our podcast and he's now going to donate to his family member in Belgium. I mean, it's just incredible. You got to trust me. It's like you put $1 in the bank and you go the next day and you take $50 out. It's been that good. So I would like to try to teach people, show people through my example just how wonderful this is. And hopefully we can get a whole lot more people to do like what I did, because it's just been wonderful. It's just been wonderful. It's overwhelming sometimes. We don't even know how to describe it sometimes. It's been that good.
Right. Now, Scott, as a donor, and you see the many people who deal with this disease every day, what would you like people who are right now watching this show? Because I see on my feed, and there's many people watching that is on the transplant list. In fact, Jonathan Trailer just got a kidney last week and a half ago, or something like that. But Scott, as a donor, what do you want other people that are waiting for a kidney? What do you want them to know or share with them as a donor?
As a donor, I think what really, really helped was just learning and knowing from Jason originally and starting that whole process off. So if you need a kidney, you got to go and broadcast it as widely as you can. I knew Jason. We weren't real close, good friends. I'm not family, but it turns out it's worked out great for us. So if you need a kidney, don't be afraid to tell a lot of people. There's no stigma associated with it. Broadcast it. Jason did a good job of broadcasting. Let as many people know, people you work with in your family, in your neighborhood, people you associate with through church groups or work organizations or you know, your exercise club, whatever. I mean, just let people know and connect them with people like you, Steve, or Kidney Solutions, or the University Hospital program here in San Antonio. And there's a lot of other ones out there. Let them know that there's a lot of good information readily available to help them educate themselves like I did. And once you do that, it's not a big scary thing. It's really not at all. So just really work hard, keep trying. And of course, for Jason and I, our faith and praying is a big part of it. So I hope everybody's got a spiritual life in one way or another, but a lot of good praying and reaching out to God, that's a big help too.
Wow, thank you for that, Scott. Now, Jason, I'm come to you. Now, you being the recipient, what do you want people watching this show? Because there's a lot of warriors watching that are on the list, and you actually was in that same position, and you went through some challenges. So now receiving the blessing, being on peritoneal, you say a year and a half.
Correct.
A year and a half, where some people 2 years, a year and 3 months, year and 6 months, they're still doing it. 5 years on the list.
Yep.
3 years. I mean, we see it all the time on social media. Now, as a recipient of a shared paired donation, what do you want people to know that's waiting for a kidney right now?
What I like people to know, especially all the kidney warriors out there, there's a lot of us out there that are kidney warriors. And gosh, what I want you all to know is, first, you do your research, do your homework, do your due diligence, and take action. Depending on your blood type, your wait time on the wait list may be longer than others. Do your research. Look into the kidney paired exchange program. If that's something that is being offered at the transplant center that you're registered with, pursue it. All it's going to do is increase your odds. Transplant, the way I kind of looked at it in the back of my mind is it's a numbers game. How can I increase my likelihood of getting a transplant? If it doesn't happen right away, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. When you're going through this battle of kidney disease, whether it's PKD, FSGS, chronic kidney disease, kidney cancer, whatever the situation is, it's a grind. It's a battle. Have patience. Have faith. If there's some kind of faith life that you do have, turn to that. We turn to that not only in the good times, not only in the bad times, but in the good times as well.
Mm-hmm.
Look for that support. If there's no support that you have, unfortunately, if there's not a family member that can help you out, search for a support group. I'm blessed many, many times over in the sense that I have a loving, supporting wife, I have 2 amazing children, my family back home in El Paso, my brother, my sister, my parents, everyone is supportive of me. They have my back 100%, just like my church community here in San Antonio. This really was a battle that we were all in for about 3.5, 4 years in total. That's a drop in the bucket compared to other people, like you mentioned, Steve. Some folks are on dialysis for 5, 10, 15 years. And unfortunately, the sad fact of this is that people die waiting for an organ. And that really needs to change. For those that are in this battle, find that support that's going to help you on those tough days. And it's going to celebrate with you on those great days. And it's going to be there to celebrate with you on the day of transplant and through your recovery. If you're not sure where you can find a support group, Kidney Solutions has a support group that meets every Monday evening, every Thursday evening. So join us. There's folks there that are on dialysis and folks there that have gone through transplant, me included. I'm in that support group. I know Jonathan Traylor, I believe, is on the Thursday group. But
how can people get that information? Let me put it up on the screen right quick. How can they go and get that information?
So great question, Steve. What they can do is, you can go to Kidney Solutions website, and I'm pulling that up right now. That way I don't give the wrong address. It's kidneysolutions.org. And on that homepage, there's a spot for the support groups, Mondays and Thursdays. And we do meet on Zoom. So the link is on the website right there on kidneysolutions.org. So support, building a community around you, having a community to help you out is so important. And for those who don't, definitely, for those who feel they don't have one, there's one out there for you. Even if it's with Kidney Solutions, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I mean, we need to just get this information out and be more supportive in this kidney community, because every other, maybe chronic disease, whether it's cancer or prostate cancer or whatever it is, have a large base support. And I'm not taking anything away from that, but when you have a disease like kidney disease, which is the ninth leading cause of death in the United States, and how it wreaks havoc, then something really needs to be done about it as far as awareness and prevention. They were talking about that back in the 60s when they had the committee set up to see who would go or not go on dialysis. The doctors were talking about it back then when they were discussing how much that program was going to cost. Prevention and awareness. I mean, it works, but yet you don't see a lot of it. So, man, I'm glad Kidney Solutions, Kent Breslin is doing what he's doing. You doing what you're doing with John 3:31, whether it deals with kidney disease or not. It still gives you a platform to be able to get that information out there when you decide to discuss it.
Yes, sir.
So guys, this has been a great show. I know I went over, but I mean, we had a lot of people that commented. Scott, I'm not sure if you're on Facebook, but if you are, if you are, I encourage your wife to go through and look at the comments. It was one comment I just wanted to share with you guys that I thought was very interesting from from Kathy Mullen. Now, she said her recipient came from her friend's wife. So she says, my friend wasn't really a friend, was friends with her husband and worked with him. She stepped up and donated to me. We are closer now. They are churchgoers, and I now go to their church. So, guys, this is just say how God works, where she was a friend, of the husband, and the wife, she didn't have to step up and donate. In fact, truth be said, that a lot of women, now I don't want to generalize this, but I mean, you look at it where some people really have to look at the bigger picture and not be narrow-minded and say, oh, you got something going on with this lady, or why would I want to, somebody's wife giving a kidney to their co-worker. That has to be a special person to do something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Indeed.
So I just wanted to share that because Kathy was on our show, her donor. She's a school teacher, was on our show last year, and we had to bring them back for a revisit to see what they're up to now. But that was a great show as well. And just one, Chris Ann Hernandez, she's a nurse. She's on home dialysis. She did in-center. She brought it home, and she's waiting for a kidney as well. So please, guys, if you're watching, go to, I believe the page is A Kidney for Chris Hernandez, but type in Chris Hernandez kidney on Facebook, and you will see her page where Jeffrey Brown is doing amazing graphic works to advertise in a kidney donor. So this thing is really bigger than us, and we're just a small part of this cogwheel of education. So Scott Mullen, Jason Nunes, guys, thank you so much for coming on Sunday Morning Transplant Coffee Talk. And I'm sure Scott and Jason that Nashonda Larimore, who has her show, Transplant Talk with Nashonda, is going to probably want to have you guys on. Jared Brown of Warriors Quest is going to probably want to have you guys on. Lisa Baxter, because you guys have a great story, and I know it'll be sharing your story over again, but the difference is the questions will probably be different because I come from the healthcare perspective. So my questions are going to be a little bit more different than someone who may not come from the nursing aspect of it.
No, it's been great, Steve. I appreciate you calling us up and helping us to spread the word a little bit. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. So again, guys, thank you for coming on. Scott Mullen, Jason Nunez, all the way from San Antonio, Texas, taking the time out of their schedule to come on Sunday morning Transplant Coffee Talk. Man, I look forward to, I wish you was on Facebook, Scott, because I definitely would like to follow you, you being an engineer. I'm sure you got a lot of great stuff going through your brain.
Maybe.
What, if I may ask before we end, what type of engineer are you?
I'm a mechanical engineer.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of us out there, different types.
Wow.
Things going.
Absolutely.
I say wild and nursing. Wild and nursing, buddy. I mean, engineers are cool. Nurses are cool. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, again, thank you for coming on. Have a great evening. And Jason, you're on Facebook, so we'll be in touch. I'm definitely going to be in touch with you because I like your graphics. And I'm going to want to pick your brains for some information.
Anytime.
All right, guys, take care.
Thanks.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. Guys, this has been a great show. I'd like to thank, so many people who joined the broadcast. I mean, I could go through and name them. Denise, Melissa, Jonathan, Andrea, Martin, Lisa, Brittany, Chris Ann, Kathy, Shauna, Jared, Gerald White. Let me see. Say her name. Michelle, Denise, Judy, Margaret. Nina, Izzy, Lamont, my buddy, dialysis tech. Lawrence from the UK. Thank you, brother. Juan. Patty, Margaret, thank you guys for watching this broadcast. This would be great if we can get this many people on the shows. I know everybody can't be at the same place all the time, but if we can get you to like Urban Health Outreach Media and help us share these shows. We have many shows. We had the Warriors Quest. We had on Wednesday nights at 8:30. We have Fulfill Your Will to Survive on Tuesday night with Ronaldo Alexander. We got the Lisa Baxter Show on Sunday. We got Kidney Stories with Uncle Jim on Fridays. We have Urban Renal Talk with Tamika and Steve on Thursdays. And then I do World Kidney News on Sundays at 9 p.m. So we have a host of many shows. You can go on Urban Health Outreach Media Facebook page under the videos, and we have a long list of videos that you can go through. Education about dialysis, if you're on dialysis, transplant, pre-dialysis, anything you want to know other than being really, really technical about it, you can find it on Urban Health Outreach Media. Oh, and I forgot Sisters Against Kidney Disease on every other Monday. So we got so many shows out there that for me it's kind of hard to keep up with them. And starting this next month, which is tomorrow, September, we're going to have Cooking with the Kidney Chef series on every Sunday at 9 p.m. on World Kidney News. So I'm going to have Cooking with the Kidney Chef. We're going to have a different Kidney Warrior chef prepare a meal or talk about a meal each Sunday, easy for you to fix. And I want to have a dietitian on, Cassandra Floyd, with me to talk about that meal. So tune in every Sunday, starting next Sunday, September the 6th. We're going to kick it off with Chef O. Multiple transplant medal winner from the Transplant Games, award-winning chef. He's going to be on here next Sunday. Yeah, next Sunday. No, I'm sorry. This is Monday. I'm getting my days mixed up. But he's going to be on here next Sunday to start that cooking series off with Cooking with the Chef, Kidney Chef. So tune in. Again, thank everyone for watching. If I missed you, I'm sorry. God bless you guys. Again, I'd like to thank Scott Mullen and Jason Nunez for taking the time out to share this story on Sunday Morning Transplant Coffee Talk. And if you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, please reach out to any of the hosts and or reach out to me, Steve Belcher, on Facebook through Messenger, and we'll schedule you to be on to share your story. Thank you. Let me see. Somebody just commented. Thank you, Chris. God bless you too. God bless everyone for watching. And guys say, I smell what you are cooking. Absolutely. Next Sunday, we're going to be cooking it up with Chef O right here on Urban Health Outreach Media. So thank you guys for watching. Again, God bless you. Have a great evening and stay safe. Peace.
Uh-huh.